Best bites forever.
Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to Best Bites Forever. In this video, I'm showing you how to make a classic strawberry shortcake. Let's rock it out. What I need first here is my flour. So I am measuring 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and the way to measure that is to use a spoon and scoop it into your measuring cup and then to level it off with a butter knife or whatever you happen to have to level it off with. If you scoop your measuring cup down into the flour, you're going to press your flour together, get too much, and have dry biscuits. So do it the way that I was showing you. Moving right along, I am going to go ahead and cube up my butter. I have a stick and a half of butter here, and I'm just going to cut it long ways first, and then I'm going to turn it, cut it long ways again, and then turn it again and kind of dice it just like I was dicing anything else, so that I end up with these cute little cubes like this, and that is going to make this butter a lot easier to incorporate into my flour. Next, I'm going to go ahead and finish adding into my dry ingredients. Here I have 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder along with 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt and a 1/4 cup of sugar. Just as a little side note here on that salt, I do like my desserts to have just a little bit of saltiness to them. So if you don't like that bit of saltiness to contrast with the sweet, then go ahead and back your salt off to 1 teaspoon. Once you mix up your dry ingredients, you can add your butter in and start cutting it in with a pastry knife if you happen to have one like this, and if you don't, you could also use a fork. What you're looking for is this kind of texture that I have right here. This is absolutely perfect, and now I know that I'm ready to add in my liquid ingredients. So here I have 1 cup of milk, and I'm also mixing in 3 tablespoons of sour cream. That's going to give them like a nice little twang. You could alternately put in 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of buttermilk if you happen to have it in the fridge. Go ahead and stir that up until it starts coming together into a ball. So what you're basically doing is just moving the dry ingredients into the wet and stirring it up really nicely until, as you can see, it's kind of folding over on itself and it's no longer really stirring. It's just kind of formed like a little dough ball inside of my bowl. So this is perfect, and I am ready to go ahead and put it onto a lightly floured surface. I'm just using a little bit of flour to roll these out because, again, I don't want to add too much flour into this dough because it will give you a dry little biscuit, and we want nice moist strawberry shortcake. So I also put just a touch of flour onto my hands, and I am pressing this out by hand. You can definitely use a roller if you're more comfortable with that. But once you get it pressed out to about 3/4 of an inch of thickness, go ahead and put some flour onto your little cutter because it is a pretty sticky dough. When you use the cutter, press straight down and do not twist. When you press down, you get a nice little biscuit, and when you twist, what happens is it pinches the dough and it doesn't allow your biscuit to rise properly in the oven. So pressing straight down, go ahead and complete your biscuits. Move them over to your pan as you're going, and what I'm using for a pan is my half hotel pan. I did spray it with cooking spray. I happen to prefer Pam, but use whatever kind you like. You could also use butter, flour, canola oil, whatever you're in the mood for. And here these are, all lined up like little soldiers and ready to go into the oven. I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of my scraps, just kind of press them together and put them into this little pan. You can definitely cut them into the little biscuit shapes if you want to, but I didn't. I also happen to notice my vanilla sitting there, which I didn't put into my biscuits. That is normally where that vanilla goes, but instead of editing it out, I decided to just make a vanilla whipped cream. So then you have a solution to the problem if you happen to do the same kind of silly mistake. Here I'm just using my bench scraper to do a little bit of cleanup. If you don't have a bench scraper, they are a great kitchen tool. Moving right along, I have 6.5 cups of strawberries, and as you can see, mine are frozen, which is fine. It'll still work out fine. I also have a 1/2 cup of sugar, but I'm not going to use it all. What I want to do is put some of the sugar in here. I'm going to pulse these. I'm going to give it a little taste test and kind of decide if I want to add all of the sugar or not. The reason I have so many strawberries is because they were on great sale, like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and they were super, super sweet because obviously it's summertime and they are in season right now, which is why you may or may not need all of that sugar. So again, just kind of puree them down. I kind of have something here that looks like strawberry sorbet, but don't worry, it will melt down into a sauce. And you know what? It's sweet enough. I'm not using all the sugar. Here are my biscuits. They cooked for 15 minutes at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. Moving right along, I am going to make my whipped topping. So here I have 1.5 cups of heavy cream along with a tablespoon of powdered sugar. I'm going to go ahead and whip this up to stiff peaks. So I'm using my hand mixer to do that. It definitely makes short work out of it. It only takes about a minute, but you can do this by hand with a whisk also. And again, my poor vanilla got left out of the party, but it did go in there. I didn't show you, but there it went in just a little bit again. And I used a tablespoon, but you might want to start with a teaspoon and taste it, another teaspoon and taste it, and kind of decide how vanilla-y you want your vanilla whipped cream. I said vanilla-y, that's a word now. So here I am at stiff peaks, and you can see them because my little mountaintops are not folding over. Absolutely gorgeous and ready to serve. So let's plate it up. I have my little biscuit. I cut it in half. I'm just going to put a little bit of the sauce right there into the middle, along with a little bit of my whipped cream right into the middle. Give it a lid, give it a little bit more sauce on top, and of course some whipped cream again. And I like to just kind of give a little bit of decoration. So here is some basil that I did on top. You could also do mint. It just gives it like a nice little touch. Couple little pieces on the side, and there's my plate up. If you're not subscribed already, please go ahead and do so now. Also hit that like button and the notification button, and I will see you in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.
Bestbitesforever.com